welcome to Book Talk! Today we're discussing the much anticipated fourth book in the Heroes of Olympus series, House of Hades. Oh, it's so pretty, isn't it so pretty? The color scheme is beautiful. It kind of has an orange/purple palette. What? If you are unaware, House of Hades is the fourth book in the Heroes of Olympus series. I think I just said that. Being that it's the fourth book in a series, you're not gonna want to watch this video if you haven't read all the other books. I'm gonna spoil you. You don't want to be spoiled. You're gonna ruin it for yourself. You're gonna ruin it. So if you haven't read House of Hades yet, I recommend that you finish the book and then come back and we can discuss it together. If you haven't read any Percy Jackson books, I don't know what you're doing. By not spoilery, people! Okay, so all of yous better have read the book. Look how the series is coming along. It's so beautiful. I think this cover might be my favorite. Maybe it's because when I first saw it, it was just such a relief. You don't have someone on the cover if they're not going to be a big part of the story. We got a crap load of Percy and Annabeth POV, and boy was that intense. We're not used to seeing this much misery and intense struggle from these two characters, two of our strongest characters who are always coming out on top. We never really see them struggle that hard before they triumph. But here we're in Tartarus. It takes all their strength to get through it. Every book, there's some emotional development within the characters and such. This book in particular, I feel like was a sort of journey of self-discovery for a lot of our characters. They're just kind of becoming more comfortable with themselves and their powers. So we come back to Percy and Annabeth, and they're falling, you know, just falling, Spy Kids style. Tartarus is a long drop.
It's a long way to the bottom if you're going to Tartarus. Why, yes, I am a daughter of Apollo.
Essentially, House of Hades is Percy and Annabeth's Dante's Inferno. It's basically the same, except, you know, Greek, and instead of Virgil, we've got Bob. Virgil's intelligent and all, but doesn't hold a flame to Bob. I don't know if you guys all read the Percy Jackson files. Bob comes out of one of those stories. There were a lot of nostalgic moments in House of Hades, and I kind of wish this had been published when I marathoned through all the books, because there were so many references, and I think it would have appreciated all those references more if I had just read all the stories, because there's a lot of references back to Percy Jackson and the Olympians and all the monsters they defeated, because they basically run into everyone they've ever killed. Percy and Annabeth managed to slow their fall because the Cocytus River is right outside the garbage chute they come out of. Annabeth is lugging him to shore. Annabeth Chase dies at age 17 trying to keep her boyfriend, the son of Poseidon, from drowning. And we learn about this special healing river, the Plegthrothron, that's made of fire. The fire keeps you right off the brink of death, so you don't miss out on any of that Tartarus fun. So when they mentioned Bob, I thought we were going to be seeing him. I didn't realize how big of a part he was going to play in their survival of Tartarus. Bob is my favorite. I love how he looks like Einstein and has like the silver crazy hair. I love the way he talks. I am Bob, Percy's friend. Bob, it's really good to see you again. Yes, Bob, that's me, Bob. I love Bob's directions. We go till dark and darker. Then we go sideways. And then we have this very comical, cartoonish moment where we're in the dark and we hear something moving. So we spread out in our flanks and we're about to attack. And then we see this little cat on the ground. Meow. I shall call you Small Bob. I'm just like picturing myself having a child, and I shall call you Small Christine. And Bob really brings out the best in Percy, or Percy's fatal flaw. He always will believe in the best in people. He has that little speech about good and bad monsters with Bob. I really think that speech was very important to Bob's perspective and getting him on their side. It was just so different seeing Percy and Annabeth in such a disgusting, miserable environment. They dealt with it the best they could, but it wasn't the same as seeing them in the real world. I'm excited to see them back in their element in the real world where they kick ass all the time, and it's kind of a lot more lighthearted. They had a lot of cute Percabeth momes, but they were like sexy Percabeth momes. They were like, don't worry, we'll drink the fire together. So we meet the Peace Giant, and of course Annabeth talks him into healing Percy by being like, oh, so I guess you're just not good enough to do it. And it's like, you doubt my powers. I feel like that works one too many times, Annabeth, with your reverse psychology little thing, and everyone falls for it. Just the most ridiculous conversations with all the monsters. The best was when they ran into the goddess Night. They tell her that she's not on the brochure. They're on vacation on this tour of Tartarus, and Night isn't even in the brochure. Not worthy as a tourist. So she's like, oh, you don't think I'm worthy? Of course, Night falls right into this little trap as well. And she brings all her children, her evil, dark children. How dare you not beg for an autograph? How dare you not take a picture with me? And then the best, Percy kind of hesitates. Because Annabeth's like, oh, I don't have a flash. And Percy's like, you're not photogenic. Dark, so it's like it would just come out dark. It was the best. I think the scariest part of Tartarus had to be the curses. Those were terrifying. That was like an actual nightmare come to life. I don't know what you guys thought, but I was thinking that these wouldn't go away. Percy, so much happens to Percy. It was just horrifying because he kept killing them, and I was like, stop it. The worst was the Calypso curse. That was horrifying. In Tartarus, there's a shrine to Hermes, which is so weird. I guess Hermes is the god of thieves, so maybe a thief constructed it down there because the thief was bad enough to go to Tartarus. It's so weird. The stuff that they burn for Hermes appears in the shrine in Tartarus. Is that not really strange? That meeting with Raina, we finally see Grover, who we haven't seen in ages. I love when the Romans come at them with the spears. He toodles a little jig. Blue puppy turns all the spears to Christmas trees. We make our ways to the doors of death. Now, the doors of death, the house of Hades. How were you picturing this before reading this book? In my head, the house of Hades was a nice little neat temple on a hill in Greece. Not exactly. I was also picturing the doors of death to be doors. I'm picturing this big safe in the wall that they have to kind of know the combination to open. Then on the other side, Percy and Annabeth waiting like, hey y'all, thanks for opening the door for us. Not picturing an elevator chained to the ground in Tartarus. Then we have the whole button pushing ordeal. You also have to have someone to push the button and hold it for 12 minutes. So last book in Mark of Athena, I believe we were all thinking that someone was gonna have to stay behind to close the doors, not to hold a button for 12 minutes. I thought someone was gonna be left behind and die. So while reading this book, I think toward the end I had prepared myself so much for this emotional roller coaster that I was kind of like, oh, nothing happened. We had Bob and we had Peace Giant. We knew Peace Giant was gonna come around. And we finally get to the elevator. I think this was the most emotional part of the book for me. Percy's got it into his brain that he's gotta stay behind so he could guard the button. And I'm just sitting here being like, no way in hell that's how this is going down. You jump, I jump, remember? And then Tartarus himself shows up. Was it anyone else picturing Emperor Zurg? Yes, the guy from Toy Story. He described as having like a vortex for a mouth, and he's wearing all these like cloak things. Emperor Zurg. I love the part when they finally do slash the chains. I was crying. Percy was so conflicted because his fatal flaw is the loyalty ordeal. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if when this was all over, Percy like attempted to get him out of Tartarus himself. And that whole chapter, I'm like, get in the elevator, get in the elevator. And I'm just picturing Annabeth keep sticking her foot in the elevator while she's guarding it so it doesn't close all the way. The image of them both like holding the door shut while it boomed up toward the mortal world. So insane. Jason Grace. I don't understand how people cannot make fun of Jason. Towards the beginning of the book, we have this whole dwarf situation. We're on the Argo II, we're just chilling, and all of a sudden, we're in the Wizard of Oz, we're being attacked by weird dwarf monkeys! and they steal all Leo's shit. I was so mad. It's like, you did not just take Leo's tool belt. You did not. You going down to Leo Town. Messed with the wrong man. Who was I talking about? Oh, okay, so Leo takes off after them with Jason. 5 seconds into this fight, who's hanging upside down from a trap? Jason. Because he was too busy summoning his sword to listen to what Leo yelled. Leo turns into Heisenberg and fog bombs those gnome monkeys. Gets everything taken care of. He's packing up. Lightning flash in the bars on the nearest window burst into sizzling melted stubs of iron. Jason flew in like Peter Pan, electricity sparking around him and his gold sword seeming. I'm here! Oh, sorry, man. Kind of all wrapped up in here. Jason Grace. Never there when you need him, always there when you don't. We have this turtle situation. Everyone is busy trying to fix this turtle situation. Hazel and Pipper are on Arion trying to distract him. And Jason, he jumps on the turtle and tries to stab him with the sword, which does nothing. And he flies back to the ship and on the way manages to lose his weapon. But that's not all, because we learned that Jason's sword doesn't reappear in his pocket. Why would your sword have the ability to change into something little if that little thing couldn't always be found on you, you know? It's so easy to lose a coin! It's not that I hate Jason, it's that Jason thinks so highly of himself. Everyone else is kind of really humble, but Jason's like, I'm a son of Zeus. I'm awesome. Like, I'm such a leader, it's ridiculous. It's just the biggest fail. So we get our first Jason chapter, 240 pages in. And the first line of his chapter, Jason fell asleep on the job. Of course he did. Classic Jason. And you read on, and you see that he's blacked out. But then you keep reading, and you see that he blacked out because he was fighting these Venti that he fights all the time. He forgot to hold his breath. So, fail. Classic Jason. Classic Jason. Keon, that snow bitch, shows up. 5 seconds into this argument, Jason is a popsicle. I don't care, everyone else turned into popsicles. Everyone else wasn't up there with Pipper. Moments before this happened, Pipper's like, Jason, go get the wildfire. Oh my god, she's coming. Wait, what? What's going on, Pipper? Doesn't run to get the wildfire, just stays there and turns into a popsicle. And then later on the book, he's kind of reflecting back on this popsicle experience. God, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe I was a popsicle in that one fight. Jason, you're always a popsicle during the fights. I don't know why this has come as such a surprise to you. Admit it to yourself. He's the klutz of the demigod community. And he can't see it, and no one else can see it, and it just bothers the crap out of me. And yes, Jason did manage to rope up 6 little hot air horses to pull the Argo II to Malta. But let's just take a second and think about that situation. He was in Malta for 5 days, and every day he would meet with the wind god and just have meaningless conversation. When the whole time, he didn't even need permission to leave. He didn't even need their help. He just needed to take his power to reel in the horses and attach them to the ship. Percy and Annabeth are withering away in Tartarus. We don't have time for this shit. Just to put the cherry on top of this whole Jason ordeal. At the very end, we have that very cool battle. Nico calls the Ghost Legion, and Jason's just spewing out orders everywhere. No one listens. Hashtag Jason Phil. I wanted to tweet so many times. I resisted so hard tweeting about all these incidences. Like, I would burst into laughter when anything Jason related happened. Because it was so ridiculous. You don't even know when he got caught in that dwarf trap. I was dying. Then we've got our Leo. I always want to hug Leo. Got that epic rescue of the tool belt with the dwarves. That was just so great. I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah! Leo. Classic Leo. Getting things done. And then we have this Calypso situation. Now, when it happened, I was so mad. I knew immediately he was on his way to Calypso because just where no one comes back